No, I think we're good for right now. Thank you very much. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the live stream audience. We are now live. So just as a kind and friendly reminder to staff, please make sure you speak clearly and slowly into your microphone so that everybody that's watching can hear, as well as those in the room. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our work session. We have 3 presentations this evening. The first presentation Mr. Graneri is going to do in a moment was presented to the Audit Committee a couple of weeks ago. We want to give you an update on our PTech program with our friends from Niagara County Community College. Hello, Monica. Julie and Becky are here with the budget, and then we will review the agenda for your vote on the 24th, which is 2 weeks from today. So to lead off tonight, the Audit Committee decided that we needed to really take a good close look at our Information Technology Services Department. And I want to be really clear that this is in no way a reflection of Ray and his team not doing their job. This is a function of the fact that in any school district, municipality, hospital, et cetera, the most vulnerable place right now, if they have a good organization like we do, is with information services. You know about the cyber attacks that are occurring everywhere and have occurred. Ray and his team have done a great job of protecting our district. Bonadeo came in, spent time with Ray and his team, and thoroughly went through our technology protocols to make sure that we were doing the most current and up-to-date and smartest thing to protect our investment. Not only personal privacy, finances, student data, student information. They came back with a couple of recommendations that we need to implement. These recommendations, again, are in no way an affront to the work that's being done, but certainly taken as a help. And I think Ray would be the first to tell you, 5 years ago when they did this assessment, they set our technology course on a very protective pattern that has helped us prevent any type of cyber attack, which I'm sure keeps Ray up at night. And he did have quite a bit of hair before he took the job. But as he worries about cyber attacks, he starts to look more and more like me. So that's a compliment, Ray. So the Bonadeo group came in, and Ray, take it away.
Yep, so we had two objectives in the assessment. One is a little techie. It's an internal network penetration test to identify vulnerabilities and suggestive corrective actions. And the second was definitely less techie, but from everything that I've read and heard, is a source for entry into a system, and that's a phishing exercise. Again, to document findings and suggestions that I'll talk about in a second. So the internal penetration test really focuses around this graph that I have in front of you. We were sent a very unassuming device that we placed actually in the IS office. It was behind firewalls. It was behind all our enhanced security features. So it's kind of like the example of a kid walking in with a laptop that may have some damage on it. So it was a challenging thing to try to combat against. And really what the focus of what this test was is just moving around this chain. This is steps 1 through 9 is what a nefarious device, what a hacker, how someone would gain unauthorized entrance into a network. This is what they're trying to do. Step 1 is gather information, all the way to getting items and functions that can do damaging stuff, and the last piece would be covering their tracks. So our job really is to arm a kill chain defense. That's the goal. We're going to, using stuff that we have now, things that we've learned, it's really to put together mechanisms that will provide, again, this kill chain. And this is where I put these two kind of things up, these flux capacitor kind of things to remind me to stop and go back, because I really don't need to go down the heavy-duty tech talks. Really, what a kill chain defense is again, if you look at the screen, this is what they tried to do. The kill chain device is we learn things, we knew things, but it's basically to break these chains. So you can't get from 1 to 2, you can't get 4 to 5 in this kind of area. That's what we've tried to do. That's what we spend a lot of time working on, and that's what this internal penetration test kind of showed us some paths we need to get better at. So the first piece, which is a good thing, is that we scaled extremely high on an effective safeguard. And really all these that I'm going to talk about, these next 3 or 4, all kind of focus on passwords, what authorities passwords and have, and who has these passwords. So this particular guy is basically what he's saying, and the reason I brought this up there is that no general user has a level of authority that, say, a senior network tech have or I would have. And this is extremely important. And to be honest with you, if we'd have failed on this one, I would, I'm looking for Maria Massaro, I may walk down to see Maria Massaro and turn myself into HRO if we would have failed on this one, because this is a fundamental piece of security that we have in place, which was a good thing. So the assessment recommendations, again, all of these 3 surround itself around student and staff passwords, mainly staff. We're going to institute some group policies to strengthen some things. We're going to institute some new practices where we are going to put some, we're going to ask vendors or demand that vendors firm up their things. And these 3 items are really about all passwords, and the bullet points underneath them are what we're going to do, which I'd be glad to talk about a little bit more if you like. The last piece of the assessment recommendations for the internal penetration test, these are not password related. The first one, they called weak and misconfigured devices, which sounds really bad, but it's really not that bad. This really is about maybe beefing up our antivirus program. Right now we have virus protections, and that's saying, oh, we found a bad guy, you got to delete it. Well, now there's antivirus programs that have a little artificial intelligence based into it and some workflow that helps us get better. That's the next level that we're going to work with BOCES on to get better. And the last piece, which I think is probably the most effective thing that we do, and at the time that this assessment was, we were halfway home, is the app locker that I've talked to the superintendent about. Yeah. We have a white list of programs, 1 to, say, 300 programs. These are the programs that can run within the district. If you aren't on that list, you don't run. So for whatever reason, if someone comes in the district, gets behind the firewall, gonna run a Trojan virus, I don't like Ray, I was smarter than him in school, I'm gonna take you out. Guess what? It's not going to run because it's going to get blocked by our app locker, and it's not on the whitelist. So that's pretty much the assessment recommendations for the internal, which is a little more techy, and I hope I stayed away from any of the flux capacitor kind of talk.
So, go ahead, Rich. I'm sorry. No, so part 1 of the test was this penetration where they put something in, the firewall stopped it, which is a good news, and I'm glad you didn't have to turn yourself in because we need you. Secondly, that kill chain that you described in the defense we're playing, those are just links to make sure along the way we stop everything, and that what you need to do is come back to the staff with more developed passwords. The app blocker and the white page has been very successful, so I can't just run my fantasy football league on it.
Exactly. Yep.
So that stops all of that stuff, which would be an entree to a virus coming in.
100%.
Good. Microphone.
Does this stop ransomware?
Well,
or does ransomware come from outside?
Well, what happened is that they would say, if you're looking at the screen right now, and they gain entrance even to, let's say they get to number 7 here, right? That's where they've compromised, and now they can say to us, we've gained entrance, you send me $10,000 worth of Bitcoin, or I'm going to shut down your system because I've got to step 7, or I've acquired information and I'm going to post a superintendent's social security number on an electronic billboard unless you send me Bitcoin. So that's kind of where the circle of, the circle of this list here, I'm sorry. This is where the bad guys are trying to go from 1 to 9, and we're trying to kill chain, breaking this kind of looping environment. So if they get successful at a certain level, that's where ransomware, that's where Bitcoins, and I hate to say that I think we're in a good spot because this is, I know we're in a good spot, but this is always going to go on. We're never going to, we have to be constant vigilance against this.
Are you notified or able to detect when a threat is against our system? And if so, how many occur and how often?
Yeah, we actually had
Tell them
one-
about the one, Ray, at the Niagara Street one?
Oh, Lord. Yeah, that one was a tough one because that one was actually, if I was going to try to break into a network, I would have done exactly what happened. What happened a couple months ago is we had notified by BOCES. They gave us an IP, which identifies where it is, that this particular IP was trying to reach out and weaken our defenses. We have a vulnerability scanner that tells us exactly what you're asking. When are we vulnerable? Do we sense a threat? And then we react. So the scary part about this was that something out there, an IP under our district, under the covers, was trying to knock out the guy that watches over us. About a couple hours later, we're having trouble finding this device because you know where it is? It's actually stuck in an HVAC unit that was installed 10 years ago and had a card that was web-enabled so it could reach out and do certain things. It was running Unix operating system. So here we go. Unix is an operating system that you can, you can influence and you can change. We can't change Windows 10. We can't change some other operating systems. But Linux is an open source. So there you go. It's all lined up. I got a 10-year-old machine. It's got a card in it. God knows where it was made from. And it's reaching out trying to do bad stuff. So that's when I started losing more hair, the ones I don't have left. And it ended up being okay, but boy, oh boy, that was something that was kind of scary because it was so real. And part of the cooperation between being alerted, which I thank the district and the board, we participate in enhanced cybersecurity services. So we worked with BOCES, we worked with JCI, we worked with Simplex Grinnell, and we were able to identify finally that it was actually a false positive. But just yesterday, we get notified at I guess the school doesn't matter, I think it was Niagara Street, that a teacher was identified, not the teacher, her machine was sending out suspicious activity. So we have protocol in place. It was gas collection. We isolated the machine, we immediately imaged it, and we put it back in production. And then the results came back today to say that, that it wasn't nefarious, it was a false positive, but it was strong enough that we had to do what we had to do.
So these attempted hacks are computer systems and not individual people working behind a computer screen doing it?
No, but most attacks do come from inside. And it's not like a disgruntled employee that's mad about everything. But because we have so many enhanced cybersecurity tools on the outside, we're in a pretty good spot, and that's why we chose the internal penetration test that we did, because we were trying to get to simulate getting attacked behind all those covers. So,
Okay. Thank you. Thanks, Russ.
Say inside, do you mean in the network? You mean
Yeah.
in the building? You
Yep.
mean
yeah.
in your office?
Well, by inside I mean it's because from the out, when you're sending traffic, it's sending it sometimes right out to BOCES and back. That's one area. But from the outside, I kind of think of like a vendor. We're using Power School, right? So Power School is on the outside. Before any flow of data, any flow of anything, it's got to go through BOCES firewalls, our spam protections, because it's coming from the outside in. What I say from the inside, it could be as simple as my device over there. My device over there is sitting behind the firewalls. It's still interacting, but it's more of a vulnerable area, and that's what we tried to simulate.
Crazy.
Yeah. It's ongoing, I mean, you'll never be able to rest.
No.
We can't.
No. It's unfortunate that we have to put so much resources and activity on this kind of thing. But if you don't, we'll get ourselves in a bad spot.
We have a lot of personally identifiable information, a lot of financial information, a lot of student information and records, and they just want they want to put my social security number out there for Bitcoin.
Yep.
I really don't have much money.
If you get Russ or Jimmy's bank account number,
Yeah.
make sure you tell me first.
I will. How about the fishing experience? This one was really cool. This is the second part of it. I don't know, I thought this was easier for me to understand.
Yes, 100%. And we did very well. So we, Bonadeo, Fox Point Solutions, sent out this email. It looks fairly legitimate. If you look at a few things, it's at nfschools.net, admin.net. There's a lot of realistic components in there that would make you think you want to click on the report it here. So the good news is they sent out, we sent out over 1,200 emails to all staff. 42 people did click on those emails, but only one actually submitted credentials, which they were after. That's really the goal here on a lot of things, is to get credentials to the network, because Russ, to your question, that's where, now I got credentials, right? So now I'm in. Am I really Ray, or am I really, because Ray clicked on that thing and is now logging on. So that's the internal piece that might.
So Earl's no longer with us, Earl Smeal, for the, no, he didn't take, he didn't, but we sent, so.
Got the wrong email.
So, yeah, so it's 1,237 people got this email. 42 hit the here,
Yep.
and then one gave the information.
Right.
So
Which
that's
is very good.
Is it?
Yes. Yeah.
And then we received the names of all of those people to let them know, you don't do that. You don't do that. The 42 people plus the one person. So, great, can we do a phishing exercise on our own? I mean,
Yep.
I think we need to do more phishing exercises.
Because that really is the part that, the other part is much more tangible. This, penetration tests and all that stuff is more tangible. This, we need constant reminders, because every one of us, I'm going to talk about at the very end, we're all going to experience this. We're all going to have a time when we're super busy. It's going to be a very good fishing expedition, and we're going to get caught. So some of the, the observations that came back, and another reason why we scored so well is when they initially sent out this email, it was caught in the spam filter at least 2 times, 3 times. So I had to kind of whitelist it to finally land. So that tells us all our spam protections on the outside are working very well. I can tell you also that when this went out and it actually did land in the inbox, I think Mr. Petrozzi, you may be one of the persons that called me to say, I think this is a fish. I think I remember talking to you. So a good number of users through training and just what they know about the world today called IS department to say, hey, do you know that there's this email here that looks suspicious? So we scored very high on the reporting the fish.
What was it? What did it say? Do your cleaning at Colvin Cleaners? Is that why you did it?
Well, Mark, the sad part is it's the first email I looked at this year.
That was a good comeback.
It was good.
That was good.
So all really good on that count. The recommendations were really mild, I think. They complimented us on our training sessions. They just asked us to keep up our due diligence, which we'll do. They asked us to kind of maybe beefing up this banner that you see that's supposed to caution us to say, it's not coming from Ray to the superintendent, it's coming from someone outside the organization. And then the other 2 pieces are kind of interesting. It's all about trying to stop the content of a fish. So you can see on the bottom here, they want us to purchase these domains. So we are nfschools.net. They're asking us to purchase .com, .org, and then variations of the NF schools. And then there's also services out there that could tell us, that would say, do you know that someone just purchased nfschools.org, and you got to keep a lookout for that. So,
It's really good.
yeah.
So can we purchase those?
Yes, yeah.
Is it expensive? I don't know.
Well, I've had the request out now, and that's what I have. It's kind of the supply-demand thing where, it's a flood, so now
Yeah.
the price of sandbags is, so I have to determine that yet. I don't have that, but I'd like to do it if we can.
If you just open the email, does that affect?
No, you're fine. Yeah, if you open, fine. It's really about, even if you tend to click on something that's not so bad, what they're really after is personal identifiable information, like.
That you give them?
Right, like unfortunately, we had a legitimate, unfortunately, fishing exercise, and it was targeted from, let's use any principal, S. Wooten at this nfschools.net, and it went out to teachers at Cataract, and it said, we have immediate change in schedule, I need your cell phone number immediately. Well, unfortunately, a population, maybe newer teachers, I don't know, could be anybody actually, entered in the phone number, their cell phone number, and they spent immediately after it landed, all of a sudden the phone calls come, then they have to block the numbers, and if you just do your due diligence to block numbers, to don't answer, eventually they give up. But it's really about acquiring, especially credentials, because then they get behind the scenes. Then it's about gaining information, cell phone numbers, and then sometimes it even gets a little deeper where you have bank accounts and things like that.
That's very good. I would ask you to pursue those domains, I guess they're called, because if we own them, then they can't use those. Because sometimes what I understand is just one letter change, and I don't pay attention to it.
Yeah, you'll never see it. I won't see it. I mean, especially you're busy, you know, maybe a small screen,
Yeah.
distracted. Yeah, you should,
Org especially, because it
Yeah.
looks official.
Yeah.
and some of the content of these emails are crazy authentic. It's
Do you want to tell our story, Earl?
Is that what he bought the new Cadillac?
No. If you don't mind, viewing audience, you mind? Want to role play it? Sure. Let me set the stage. It's a Saturday morning. It's a Saturday morning. It's the true story. It's a Saturday morning during hunting season. When would that be? I don't know when hunting season is.
It was in October.
It's in October. It's Saturday morning, and I had just finished one of my heavy lifting sessions at the gym, working out, and my phone rang. Oh, it's Earl. I hope the schools are okay. Hi, Earl. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Oh, no, not you.
Or is that the
Earl.
other Earl?
No, it's the bad Earl. Earl. I was Hi, Earl. Bass. How are you? Good. I'm role playing with Earl Smeal because a true story about the topic we're on. Hi, Earl. How are you? How are you? Earl, why are you whispering? What, okay, why are you calling me from a deer stand, Earl? Why do I want you to buy 10 Apple gift cards? Earl, stay in the tree stand and look for deer. I don't want 10 Apple gift cards. Okay, go back to the deer stand, okay? Are you okay? Are you sure you're okay? Go ahead.
I believe I did the right thing. I'm saying.
You did right, that would done the same.
He called me on a Saturday morning whispering about 10 Apple gift cards. I know, but why are you calling me? So that's a true story. I love to tell that story.
Most of his are embellished about me.
that one's right on.
But I mean, it's just so nefarious, right? We have to be so careful, so careful. All right, thanks, Ray. Go ahead.
Yep. So next steps is we have a resolution that you'll see next week to submit a corrective action plan. So that's kind of the next steps. We're going to continue with all our existing cybersecurity activities because they're never going to go away. Maintain a strong awareness, but the main thing that I want to say is we should all plan for a cyber event.
Yeah.
At work, at home, anywhere. And I could just kind of share with you a friend of mine who, my last kind of comment, who is the most judicious in trying to maintain his electronic presence. This is a man that cleared his browser history daily, sometimes twice. This is a man that had passwords in 30 in length, a scheme of 6 5-length passwords that all had a story behind them, and then reversed it. But not long ago, he clicked the wrong link, got kind of engaged, and now his desktop is in a small grave in his backyard. He had to freeze all of his accounts and cut up all his cards, and I kind of worked with him on it. But that's just the last comment I'd like to make, is we all just have to be aware, because unfortunately it is real and can cause a lot of special grief.
If I could,
Go ahead, Jimmy.
Ray, I just went through a complete remake of my store. It's only over because I answered an email, which I thought was from Microsoft, and gave them permission to get into my computer because he told me it was an emergency. They had to get in, block it, and they confiscated everything. I have been now 4 months fighting with all the financial institutions, having my complete system rebuilt. Everything was thrown away in the garbage. We started all over again. And they are so slick.
Yeah, yeah.
They convinced me that there was an emergency, and if I didn't give them the information, I'd lose all my information. And I panicked, and I just gave him permission, and he was in. And if it wasn't for the act of God that a kid came into my store and said something to me, and I saw him jump on the floor, and he pulled out the network cord, and he said, "It's too late."
Yeah.
They had it all. They have it all. And I'll tell you, it's been a battle. Even if you go to use your credit card, I can't even use it anymore. I got to get permission to use it. It's tough. Don't think he's saying anything that's not true. It's miserable.
Just people in this world, I wish they would use their time and talents differently than trying to do that. But with the amount of devices that we have and the wide range of exposure from student computers to staff computers, the school districts are sitting targets for this. That's why I want to thank you. I know having another audit done on your department wasn't the easiest thing, but I think it was the smartest thing. And you accepting the recommendations and implementing them are what the board I know expects, I expect, and I know you will do it with the best of fidelity. And just one more story before we close. One of the recommendations, see, we have to balance the fact that we are teaching young kids to use technology, right? Kindergartners, first graders, second graders. And when an outside evaluation comes on this and tells Ray, I want that first grader to have a password that's 15 characters at length, or whatever they told you, and the first grade teacher is trying to teach the lesson, but remember, every 25 kids, 15 character password, that becomes cumbersome to the education process, if that makes sense, right? Isn't that?
Yeah, that's exactly where I put the maybe agree on your screen right now, because in part of the recommendations and weak password, staff is kind of easy. We're adults and we should be able to manage it. But the comment I put in the cap is that in students' account, we do have to pause a bit with the recommendations and not stress the learning or classroom experience, because a little kindergarten kid shouldn't have to deal with things that we as adults, including myself, struggle with just to manage things. So,
Yeah. So thank you very much. We have to keep our eye on this ball. I appreciate it. On the 24th, Ray will have, in the form of a resolution, an acceptance of these recommendations that you saw this evening. We then send it to the state, Becky, the internal. We have to report this to the state as our internal audit for the year, and then we have to implement what we found.
Yep,
So that was the
100%.
purpose of this.
Ray, I know I tried rebuying my domain names when we switched all this over. Are they as expensive? Mine was a fortune.
no, well, the one, and I don't know if it's because we're educational based, which is different than commercial based. Ours was not. What I did is we usually were on a 1 to 3 year cycle. I purchased our .NET for 10 years. So that just to ensure that there was no messing around, because the other strategy they use is that if we aren't diligent to reacquire nfschools.net, someone will acquire it 2 seconds after it's available. So ours is purchased for 10 years, and
Make about the cohort that was so impressive there. It is such a diverse group of kids. I almost think there are more girls than boys. You see black children, we had a Pakistani child, a student, white kids, everybody, and their parents come out to hear this. I also want to introduce you to our external partner from Niagara County Community College and our friend on a lot of endeavors, Monica Lapoida, who has been the liaison to the college as we start to funnel our students to NCCC. But you can see this is our current 9th grade class. And I just would like Val, Rick, and Monica to give you a quick update, because we're now recruiting our 2nd class. So Rick, take it away.
Well, Mark did the introductions for me, so I'm simply going to go over the agenda, and then I'm going to turn it over to Val and to Monica to give you an update. As Mark said, you've heard about our grant before. What we want to talk to you a little bit about tonight is how things went or how things are going in our year 1 implementation. We're going to review what we did with our summer for our first group of students. Then we want to fast forward into this year and talk to you about some of the other pieces and activities that had not rolled out when we spoke to you last, like the college planning seminars, academic recognition, and monitoring of students' grades and progress, and providing academic support as needed. Then, as Mark alluded to, we're going to talk to you a little bit about our academic recruiting for cohort 2, and then will give you a little bit of a preview of what will be going on with our Cohort 1 students as they move into Cohort 2. So last year we had 1 plate in the air. Now we've got 2 plates in the air, and then a year from now we're going to have 3 plates in the air, because each cohort needs to have different supports and courses available to them as they get further into the program. So it becomes more complex over time. We'll finish by talking about the summer activities that are planned for 2022, and then how we want to evaluate and hear from our parents and students their impressions of how year 1 went. So.
Alrighty, so I believe that you guys had seen a video from over the summer, which was our Intro to P-Tech camp. It contained an algebra and team building block. We had a speaker series where speakers from MOG and NIPA, as well as a materials researcher from UB, came and spoke to our students. There was an engineering block where students built water bottle rockets as well as FM radio transmitters. It's been one of the highlights of my career to see 8th grade female students soldering metals. I mean, that really was, it was awesome, it really was. And then we also had a field trip over to NCCC, and our goal is to acclimate our students to the college so that, they feel very comfortable once it is time for them to take classes on campus there. One of the things that we've implemented this year is a college planning seminar, and we used Booker College Planning. We held seminars on November 10th, January 5th, February 9th, last night, and then there is one more where individual parents can meet directly with him in order to talk about their individual concerns. Some of the things that they discussed: 6 things 9th graders should be doing right now to prepare for college. Our January 5th seminar was canceled due to COVID concerns, but we did combine February 9th and March 9th last night. And really the tools that he's providing for students, I know 4 years sounds like a long time, but having just gone through the college planning process with my son, I know that it comes very quickly. And most of the work needs to be done before probably October, November of your senior year. So he was able to give them a scholarship tracking tool, introduce students on how to find scholarships that pertain directly to them, and it's been very informational for them. We also have had career seminars, and I'm not going to take credit for this because Monica has been predominantly planning the career seminars in conjunction with the Culinary Institute. Our last speaker was Sean Thompson. He is Vice President of Engineering at Pizio Electronics. He is senior leader of a $250 million company. He has 1,650 employees. He is the direct, people report directly to him, of 250 employees, 112 engineers, 4 technology companies in 9 different locations. Sounds very lofty. He was very impressive, but he was really able to make some good points for our 9th graders. Everyone who attended had rave reviews about his presentation. More importantly, he's a past NCCC graduate. So it really was nice to see, the amazing accomplishments that, students from NCCC have made. And there is the next career seminar, which is at the end of this month. Students will be attending and hearing from
Jerry Ulatowski, and a member of the Power Report will also speak.
So we have a member of NIPA and Jerry Ulatowski speaking.
Pardon?
Dr.
No, the son. He is a mechanical engineering student.
Lydia's son?
Yes, Lydia's son.
Oh, okay. I think we were thinking about the pediatrician.
Right, that's his son.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I didn't either.
Very successful.
In addition to Booker College Planning, we also are trying to recognize our students who have made great academic accomplishments. So at this February 9th seminar, we recognized all the students who achieved commendable achievement or higher. So that's commendable achievement, honors, and high honors. They were all recognized. There were 31 out of the 44. Those students that did not receive commendable achievement or higher, we are still working with them. And that brings me to our academic support piece. We have academic support in place for P-TECH students twice a week from 3 to 4 p.m. and every other Saturday. Students can meet with them, with their teachers virtually. There are 2 teachers that are working with these students. In fact, I had a parent come up to me last night at the Booker College planning event. She was very concerned that her son was going to fail. She is concerned about his performance this year. I brought up his grades right away. I was able to determine that he is not, he can absolutely salvage this year. Put her in direct contact with the 2 academic support teachers who already contacted teachers today in order to help the student. So that's been very successful to have those 2 directly at the high school and involved with students' success.
Are they art
academic
teachers?
Yes, yes, Christine Barstis and Bhavna Chowdhury, and they're doing a fabulous job.
Anybody from Triple C on the staff?
Not for academic support, not yet, but once we do have those college level courses, there will be mentors in place to assist students.
Quick question. I have a question for you. Mark,
Sure.
on this. Now, when graduation comes, okay, when graduation comes for our first P-TECH, we'll do it differently, like we're gonna do something a little bit different than just,
It's an interesting question, Tony, because we want to single, I mean, we wear different cords and so forth. I think we have time to do this, but we need to signal out somehow the P-TECH college cohorts. I think that's a good idea. And I know we'll have a separate ceremony and event for the P-TECH group, but it's funny, I had a conversation about the seal of civic readiness. We're giving a lot of seals and endorsements. We want our graduates to stand out with different cards and ropes and honors to show all of the different accumulation of additional things, so it's a really good idea. I wanted to make one other point. Vale said, Ms. Rotella said, Zafuto said, the cohort number 1 has 44 students. The grant pays for 25 students. This is an important Board of Education thing that I want you to know that you did. How would we ever tell those 19 students that you're not eligible? We couldn't. So we are using district funds to support the 19 students that want to be in this cohort so that we can keep anybody that wants it, qualifies, and keeps their grades up. And you did that as a board. You allowed me to do that. So the grant pays for 25. We're channeling the first group of 44. And that number has been pretty steady. And we hope we can, the grant will pay for the first 25, but I hope it's 44 again.
And I just heard today we have 2 students in 9th grade that would like to get in to the P-TECH cohort. So I know that, for the grant purposes, they're not able to participate in the cohort, but I don't think there's anything preventing them from participating in any of the college courses that are offered.
Nope, not in my eyes.
Mr. Zafuto, I'd just like to share with the superintendent last night that Dr. Morabito pointed it out to the foundation and thanked Niagara Falls High School and you, of course, for getting the funds to make this even more profitable.
Thanks.
He was very open about it last night.
Thanks. That's a good, 44, we were worried about getting 44, and I know Val will talk now about how are we doing this year, Val?
So far, so good. We've done a lot in the recruiting department to recruit cohort 2. We established drone clubs last year at the prep school, so we continued with the drone clubs in order to get those students that are more, technology oriented, involved in a club. They are doing well. I've attended faculty meetings at both prep schools in order to inform teachers of the program and to really help identify those students that are more likely to be engaged in, a degree in mechanical technology. We sent a letter to all parents of 8th grade students so that at least every parent and guardian of every 8th grade student heard about the program and was invited to attend the parent Q&A sessions. And guidance counselors also produced a list for us at both schools of students who are interested and are, performing well in the math and science area. I have met individually with students at Gaskill Prep. We had Gaskill Prep's Q&A session on Tuesday evening, so I did want to meet with all of those students prior to the Q&A session. And then I personally reached out to many of the parents. Any parent whose student already registered as a result of the letter being sent out, I invited them personally to attend. And while I met with students, I also invited their parents to attend the Q&A session. The next Q&A session will be on the 23rd at LaSalle Prep.
Quick question, Mike. How the parents are attending it very well also?
Yes,
you know-
it's funny because we had 17 parents signed up to attend the event. However, we ended up with 20, but several of the ones that were signed up did not attend. Also, several of the students who were not even on our list had not even applied, attended. So we had 11 out of the 20 that had not yet even applied, attend the meeting. So I anticipate more applications, after
If you get LaSalle Prep on the 23rd, it's pretty great to see. I mean, the auditorium is big, but you see kids with their parents, and they're intently studying this. It's really very rewarding to see this.
It is. It's a very great opportunity for our students and their families.
As he quoted last night, it's the new education.
It really is the way to go. It's the way to go. It's the way to make an investment in students at a young age for their future. So you got the summer coming up. Here we go.
Yes, so this summer we have 2 cohorts going at the same time, July 11th through the 22nd. Our cohort 1 will be taking their very first college level course. So this is 9th graders taking a 2 credit hour college course over the summer for 2 full weeks. We currently already have 26 that have expressed interest in attending. And my goal is to reach out to every parent to ensure that, they receive the information, that they, inquire whether or not they're going to engage in that opportunity for their student to take that course. And then we also have the Intro to P-Tech Summer Camp cohort for cohort 2, which are your 8th graders going into 9th grade. Minimal changes to that. I think it was very successful last summer. So we do have just a few changes. Other than that, that is about it. And then to evaluate, I spoke to via evaluation to create surveys for both parents and students who are participating in the program. And really for everything from communication, has the communication been up to par? Have they heard about the events that we're having? Have they heard, has their student heard of all of the Booker College Planning events, career seminars? How has the communication been? How did they enjoy the camp, the Booker College Planning seminars, academic support, and the NCCC career seminars? So that is in the works, which we will plan on giving sometime in June. And I believe that is it. So I'm going to turn the mic over to Monica.
And I just wanted to say a few words on behalf of the college. I want to say that this joint venture between Niagara Falls City School District, Niagara County Community College, and our business partners is exciting while also rewarding and an honor to be a part of. To see the level of interest in not only the students but also their parents demonstrates that the career pathway model with the clear curriculum, short and long-term goals, and active partnerships draws our youth's attention and a commitment. I look forward to the next few years of this grant and seeing the students succeed by number 1, earning a high school diploma, number 2, gaining valuable work experience, and number 3, earning a free to the student associate's degree in mechanical technology. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Monica. Thank you to the college. Please express our support and thanks. It's, it's now a little more than 3 years away when you are gonna give a diploma and have the college president with you to give an associate's degree as well. I mean, that will be history making in New York State. And I in your beautiful summary there, what just struck me is it was just the diversity of the kids in the program. It is such a beautiful thing to see, and how well they work together. This is going to be one of our hallmark programs, and I'm really, really, really proud of this. And it's also running parallel to all of our other pathways. Use the word pathways. We have a ton of other pathways going, but I think this is the way to engage kids, keep kids, and reach higher academic achievement. So, thanks. Yep.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah.
Thank you so much.
You know, Mark,
Yeah, go ahead.
the energy, like, I know a young man at LaSalle Prep that's, has a letter, and
Yeah.
they sent it back, and they want to get into this.
Yeah.
And they're going to apply for this, and they were excited, the mom was excited, and
Yeah.
I happen to know her because I work in the same building as her. But they're thrilled. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? They are thrilled. All that nice energy and light the fire and stuff like that. You know, this is huge. If we could,
Mark?
build on this, let me just finish. If we could just build on this towards the other tech type
Right.
of things that we are experimenting
Right.
with and implementing, and, you know, and put that kind of coverage, all the letters went out to the 8th graders, stuff like that. That kind of excitement, I think, is going to do us well into the next, you
No,
know.
I get it, and I agree with you. We can, what I think I'm hearing is, all that we're doing in the other pathways, and it doesn't have to be, we have to model this as the roadmap.
Exactly.
Do you want to advise the board on the $2 million we got for the county for the welding program?
I'm sorry, for the,
We want to notify the board on the $2 million NCCC got for the welding program?
well, we're trying to, we're certainly sending more and more kids to welding, and there's money that the college received to be the recipient to increase the number of kids we can send there to be welders. And I don't know all the trades, and I know, Angelo, you remember from being at the graduation ceremony, and the kids, every kid that seemed to come through there said, I want to be a welder. I want to be a welder. It's a great profession. It's a great need. So the community college getting that endowment will allow us to really put more kids out there in welding and really tap into what they're interested in. We've got a pretty symbiotic relationship with that school right now, and it's good. It's really good. They're doing things in our school, we're doing things in their school, and it's helping our kids see the future better. So, great. On to the budget. Rebecca and Ray, if you could just do the revenue side, so we can just do it section by section. Just kind of slide it over a little bit. The revenue side changed a little bit this week, ladies and gentlemen. To the good. To the good. No, the other way, Ray. There we go. So Julie and Becky have been working on this tirelessly. There's a hard copy for you. What we tried to do is anything that we change from one week to the next, we put in a shaded color. So anything that's new is shaded. And Becky, you found out we're getting some more excess cost aid. Why don't you talk about that first?
Yes, we took a look at the revenues at the output reports, and we used the enrollment that we have right now in special education programs and calculated it out. And Julie took a close look at it. Then I reviewed it with her and we discussed it. We think this is a conservative estimate of what our increase should be.
I want to stop there and tell you there's one additional factor that's not on here. We had a call with the commissioner this week, and we've been speaking to our legislators. The 8.4 foundation aid is what the governor presented to us in the first run. What I understand is there is still $1.2 billion worth of funding left for education. How that is distributed is yet to be determined. So when we say 8.4 is what we know we're going to get, there is still in the education discriminatory pot $1.2 billion. And I think that that's where we may pick up a few more dollars or not. It may go to operational aids there, or it may come in the form of foundation aid. I think that's what's sitting out there.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, yeah.
Before I get too far, we're on the, 'cause I wanted to ask this earlier, but if we end up getting more money from the state, are we going to increase our budget line?
That's what we're going to have to talk about right near the end of the month.
Okay.
Yep. That's why,
So,
because
to
if we don't,
create more programs and.
We could.
Classes.
we could, because if we don't increase our budget line, Mr.
I know, then we
Velardo,
can't spend it.
we can't spend it. Now, that might be okay. You may want to do that, because it can go into reserves, or all those other boxes on the other side of the paper, we can get a little deeper in. But it's the reason why I have to believe that there will be a budget on April 1st. I have no reason to think it won't be. And the hope is that we vote on the budget April 7th. So we'll leave that meeting to have that discussion, and I'll keep you informed. But that 1.2, and I don't know if it's going to be taken, not, this might be where we end up. It might be, but if it isn't, we might. We want to show you what we did a little bit, though. But if you scroll up, Ray, the other two, we're not having summer school in BOCES classroom, so that's a little bit of a loss. But I want to talk to you to talk about the utility tax, because this is a topic that the board talks about a lot, Becky. What is it? It's an increase to us.
It is an increase. And Julie and I looked at the history of this as well. Going back to about 2010, for a few years, we received over $2.2 million annually on this tax. And it's tax that's applied to utility bills, cell phone bills. That tapered off and declined in the mid-teens, 2016, 2017. In the last few years, it has trended back up, and it has actually come in over budget the last few years. So we felt that by increasing it in our budget, increasing that budget line, we were basically truing up to what has been happening in the past few years.
So we're seeing an
Can you go back up
increase
to
in our
the,
utility tax. Yep,
the summer program?
right. We're not hosting it. We're doing our own summer school. We used to charge rent for the classrooms, but we're not having summer school here.
No summer school at all?
We're having summer school. We're doing it under our own money and our own system. We're not sending kids to BOCES summer school.
At all?
No, we're going to do ourselves. The way we did it last year with a few tweaks, and we'll talk to you about that on April 7th. We're going to make it a very tailored, very individualized approach with our teachers.
When we have BOCES summer school, do we get reimbursed, or we have aid on it?
We get, no aid on it. We get rent from the rooms,
So basically, it's
the rent.
just the rent, so
Yeah.
it's cost effective for us to do our own.
Yes, especially with ARP money and the need for COVID recovery monies to be spent on summer school.
Okay, but is dollar per student, does it work?
I'd have to get back to you with that, Mr. Petrosi. We could do an analysis.
Well, it ought to be just, last year we hosted our own, right?
Yes,
We did, but BOCES also still rented classrooms
Right.
from us last year, but they're not doing that this year.
Yeah, but were our students in those classrooms?
no,
No, they're just simple, let me know what we would have paid them to host us, what we would have paid them to
To
teach our
educate.
students and what it cost us. It
Yeah.
doesn't have to be anything, I'm just curious how close it is.
Yeah, we could guess, because we would have to
Don't
estimate how
spend
many
a lot of time
classrooms it would
guesstimates.
have been.
I'm good with a guess.
Yep. That brings us to our revenue, which is a little higher, 164. And then we've talked about that reserve for debt many times. Ray, if you go to the other side now. I think just a few adjustments here. Something that was discussed last week that we were sensitive to. this budget was increasing last week 7.33%. I think you remember the conversation about not forming a capital reserve or capital repair budget. I think y'all remember that, and I think we came to a good conclusion on that for the reasons outlined by Julie, Becky, and our attorney. But the question remained, could we still do it in our general fund budget and get things done? What we worked on this week was taking out many one-shot revenues, one-shot expenses, and charging them instead to the ARP money we have until September of '23. In turn, what we added to the budget when we took those out were those capital project improvements that we could do without raising the budget to 9%. We raised it slightly. So that's what you're going to see. We also got a much more accurate number on health insurance increases. I think it's going to be 3%. It may be even a little less. We took out a little money there. We took out some of the money for transportation to the ARP fund, which was allowable, all in an effort, if you'd scroll up, Ray, to do, I think, what Mr. Bass was alluding to last week. Can we do those things in the general fund budget, but not raise the budget too high? So we put the CEC things in there, the roof, the suppression system, and the boiler plant, but still only went from 7.33 to 7.51. Just didn't want to make that big jump. How did we do it? We added about $2 million, but we took out about $1.8 million and put it in the ARP funds. All legal, all correct, because we were cognizant of the fact of that large increase from year to year. And it's all caveated by the fact that last year the budget actually decreased $20,000. So.
Pardon?
ERS.
Oh, ERS, we reduced it in this iteration of the budget because the rate did go down. So we're estimating a savings from budget to budget of almost 500,000. But previously we showed an increase because we were contemplating paying off the amount that had been that we amortized from previous years. No, we did not. We ended up choosing not to because we're really not saving on interest. It was just to get it off the books, and we had the capacity to do so, but we chose to instead not pay that off, if that's your will, and instead put in the roof replacement and other things that had a more immediate need in the district.
Is there any benefit to paying it off, or is it budget?
No, it just gets it off the books. I mean, Julie and I, again, looked at that really closely. And each year, I mean, we're only paying 100 and some thousand more than our actual bill, and it'll be paid off in 5 years. So we decided, we would recommend to the superintendent that we don't pay that off and instead reallocate those funds to doing the roof.
So we kind of did what you were talking about, Mr. Bass, last week. We got things in here by not raising the budget number that high, by moving one-shots, deciding not to pay off the ERS.
Yeah, the amortized.
The amortized, and using ARP funds to do it. Because I'm really worried about that number getting that high. So we went from 7.33 to 7.51. So the number went up $273,446. And to Mr. Velardo's point, the conversation might change if that 8.4 on the revenue comes in a lot differently. So that's kind of where we are. No, we're anticipating they'll be doing the same, but we're paying for it out of a different fund. We're paying for it out of the grant fund. We're paying for it out of the ARP fund. I wish they would do less transportation. I don't think they will be, but we're just not going to charge it to the general fund. We'll pay for it with our ARP money. It was an easy way, and then hope in 2 or 3 years, the busing situation gets better and we don't have to use them so much. It's just a thought. It's just a way to keep that number low and get all $2 million worth of work in here. It was just a thought. And it's allowable, and we've got ARP money to use. We've only got a year and a half to use it, and we've got money to use. And it only can be used for certain things.
Absolutely.
So you got to watch, what can you use it for? Hope one-shotters mainly. Can't be pure on that, because we'll have to eventually bring that back to the budget. Transportation was a place that hopefully we can get it improved upon. I don't know. We know that those rates are going to go up, and I hope we use less Aries, but it was just a place to go.
Okay.
Yeah.
Does anyone have any other questions on the expenditures, on the changes that we've made? Then if you, okay, Mr. Capizzi?
Weapons detection subscriptions, is that these new machines that
Yes,
we
sir.
bought? And this is a yearly incurring expense, is that what that is?
For which one?
Yes, sir.
Oh,
The weapons detection, we put that in there. It's a 4-year.
it is.
It's a 4-year, Mr. Capizzi, reoccurring expense. We decided to rent that or lease that. We decided to lease it and spread it out over 4 years. But that's what that's for. The new detectors that will be installed next Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday.
There we go. Okay.
But that was a cost we didn't have in last year's budget. All right.
Okay.
You want to just flip to the second page?
Sure.
So if you scroll up, Ray, what we're doing now, and it kind of touches on where you're at, Mr. Velardo, is we're really breaking out some of the things that we described last week by curriculum instruction, operations and maintenance, facilities improvements, technology, and then color coding it by what fund would be appropriate. If you scroll up a little bit more, color coding it by what fund we'll use to pay for it. We haven't touched the tax levy because I don't think that's your interest, or you don't have a palette to do anything with the tax levy. I wouldn't assume. You know the problem with smart schools, how long it takes, and the grant carryover we just don't have a number for, but we will soon, and we'll be able to use that to shade in some of these purchases. So we're trying to put these 4 boxes that run a school district: curriculum instruction, operations and maintenance, technology, facility improvement, and align what we need most with the possible funding sources. And we're just laying it out so that you can see everything that we're thinking, what we want to add, and how we're going to pay for it. And to your point again, Nick, we added intramural sports in there. And if we have more money, we can pull some of that in or use one of the other sources.
Did Earl lose his lift truck?
Now, Earl's list keeps growing.
Yes, it does.
Earl's list, oh, his lift.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to add the lift on there. I want to add it.
What is it, a JLG or?
Here's the problem with this lift. Let's talk about this lift. I want to buy our own outside lift. And let me tell you why, and let me tell you what the problems are. And you jump in when I'm... We have, I go to Niagara Street, I look out, it's a beautiful school, those windows, can't get them clean. Windows here, Niagara Falls High School. He needs to be able to get the lift. And when he wants to tell his men and women to do what he's got to do, I want to have the lift available to us. What do you have to do to get the lift from BOCES, Earl? Go through these steps.
First, I have to contact.
Use a microphone first.
Yeah.
This is why I want to buy our own. I just want you to hear why I want to buy our own lift.
Bought ours.
How do you get the
Okay.
BOCES lift?
So step 1 is to contact my counterpart at BOCES and make sure that the lift is going to be available for the time frame that I need it. If he confirms that, that's great. Then I reach out to NYSER, and NYSER, I have to do an insurance certificate from NYSER. That has to be approved by BOCES so that they know that their piece of equipment is protected and they are incurring no further liability to our district for when my personnel start using it. And this is where it really gets dicey because I have to put dates on there, and only the dates I intend on using it. Okay, great. So I anticipate I'm going to use it a week from now. Great. So I've got my insurance certificate. Monday comes, it's pouring rain. Oh, we can't load the lift. We can't load it onto his trailer while it's raining because it's wet and it slides and it's dangerous, and I get it. Well, Tuesday it's raining. Now I've got 2 days that I can't use this lift. Ultimately, then what would end up happening is if I need it past the time that I am intended it for, I have to go back to Dan and say, hey, Dan, can I keep it? Dan is my counterpart at BOCES, by the way. Super guy. This is not an affront to Dan by any, it's just the cumbersomeness of the process. And then if I need it for a longer period of time because the weather is closed down on us, I have to get the new nicer cert to protect us from for those dates of use. And the entire time I have the lift, BOCES requires me to store it indoors, which means it has to be parked in the barn and displaces other workspace as well as other equipment storage. This is the cumbersome nature of renting the lift. It doesn't make like, Earl, Niagara Street had another third floor window shot out. Get the lift, get the guys up there and put a board over it. Make it safe. Oh, well, let me call Dan. Let me get in touch with Nicer. Let's hope it's not raining out and we'll get a lift here. That's the cumbersome nature of renting the lift.
That's why I like owning our own stuff in a district this big, because I want the windows clean when we want the windows clean. It's a great concept. It's the devil in the details of getting it. So that's the story of the lift.
Well, yeah, but if I may be wrong, and please correct me. Can't you, we were under the understanding that you could get it for like a month. Is that not true?
Depends on its availability because BOCES will give it to other districts as well. So it depends how far out you know you're going to need it. Then possibly you could get it for a month.
Yeah, because it's not used a lot.
I don't know that it is or isn't, Mr. Consemi.
I mean, I talked to Dan about it, and he said, you could have it for a month, probably. I mean, I'm just sharing with you. I don't look into it.
I understand.
Question, Earl, question. How much is the lift? I'm looking for it.
You know, for what I'm after, I want something that'll reach at least 40 feet and at least 10 to 15 feet laterally. So I'm probably looking at somewhere between $80,000 and $100,000 for the lift. And then for a trailer to trailer it with, I'm probably looking at another 25 to 30.
So about 150?
It's probably going to be somewhere, yeah, that's not an out of the
Okay.
ballpark.
Let me ask a question, and I'm not being sarcastic. We haven't washed the windows in Niagara Falls High School since it's been built. Is that a correct statement or not?
Not entirely true.
Not entirely.
We did it in the courtyard for the first 3 stories about, 2.5, 3 years ago, just before COVID.
I'm not being sarcastic.
No, I know that.
My point is, I'm happy to support that. I'm happy to support that. But I would like to see something done about that. I think you even did it for me, got a quote on washing the windows of that
Yeah, I
building.
remember this.
We did.
I remember this now.
Because, I mean, I understand we have
Yeah.
important things to do, but 22 years, I think we could support it. If we buy a lift, we should put a couple guys on it this summer and go to town.
With a power washer, exactly.
You know, 'cause
Exactly
it's-
my thoughts.
It'll make that building look a lot nicer, especially from inside.
I have a problem when I go to Niagara Street. Those windows from the 3rd floor are cobwebbed all the time, aren't they?
Yeah, well, it's closer to the river. The closer you get to the river, the more spiders and flying insects there are. It just
didn't know that.
exacerbates the problem.
Nice word.
Thank you.
Yeah, I liked it.
Exemplary leadership.
All right, calm down.
So so you're talking of getting a trailer for it too? Have you looked in like a tow behind kind of thing with a?
I've just started to really shop for them.
Okay.
In all honesty, Mr. Pareto, I'm not against a tow behind. It's just that with the tow behind, you lose a little bit.
You lose your height, yeah.
And a little bit of portability. You know, you
Yeah,
got to
it
do the
doesn't-
proper setup every
Right,
time.
right.
I would love to try to find something, in all honesty, that'll give me the lift both laterally as well as elevation that I'm after, and still get me through a double personnel door. Because if I could bring it inside and use it in certain places, it would be just an added benefit.
Oh, absolutely. You have to, you know, it's, we have one, it's a tow behind, it doesn't get that high, but I don't know what, I can't remember how it was before we had it, you know what I mean? And, you know, the light, you lose 4 lights in a parking lot, that's a dark parking lot. And I would like to see us buy this thing, okay, because I have one. Because I'm the guy up in that lift, not for the Board of Education, of course, but, and, you know, at my job. But I definitely think we should have one, because we've discussed lifts and stuff before, and I'll tell you what, renting the thing is an arm and a leg. You go to a local renting place, it's out of hand, you know.
I think Russ makes a good point, though. It's almost like what he says about, you know, spending the money. He wants to see results. So I think what I hear you say is, let's see a plan, what you're going to do with it. It's going to be high school and Niagara Street. Then these months, it's going to be this. Certain months, you can't use it. I think that's what I'm hearing you say. It's okay. We're not going to just pull it out when a light breaks. We've got to do a preventative maintenance and cleaning schedule that you'll have.
We've added a lot of staff, and you know, I don't know about your department,
Oh, he's got tons of people.
but I would love to see, you know, a summer program to do
Yep.
that. Nick's been trying to jump in for 10 minutes.
Yeah. Two things. Is 40 feet high enough to reach the high school in Niagara Street? It does, 40 feet, if you can't get close to the building, you're going to lose 10 feet in lift,
Right, I understand.
in height. So you think 50, 60 feet might be better?
It probably would. The problem is the size and weight difference to go to a lift that large. I'm not against it. Please understand that. I have more research to do. If I can get something that's 50 foot, I would be all in.
I mean, there's areas in these schools, you're not going to get close enough to even get 40 feet. You might only get to the second story. If you're too far away from the building, you can't get close to the building, you're not going to get 40 feet out of it.
I get it.
And the other thing, do we have enough manpower, which I think what Russ was getting, to utilize this?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm all in favor. In fact, I think I'd like you to get a bigger one than 40 feet, because I don't
Right.
think it's going to be enough.
And you may be right. Again, I have more research
Well,
to
I
do
worked with a
on
lot
it.
of ladders for 35 years, so I think I know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I would
Okay.
think so.
But,
And you know, since you bring that up, one of the things I really want to thoroughly research is, does it make more sense to maybe go to a bucket truck? If we're going to spend that much money on a trailer and a portable lift, then of course I lose my indoor use of it, obviously.
Well, you can always buy a smaller one for
Right.
indoors.
Right. So it might
money's
be,
available.
might be something worth looking at.
Good.
And I'll continue to research all the different venues or possibilities out there. Do my
Thank you.
best.
I'm glad we had this conversation because we've been talking about it a lot. I'm glad we got it out in the open.
In favor of purchasing this, as long as we have the money for it.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure we get one that's going to be adequate enough
Yeah.
to fulfill our use for it. Because, you know, some of these, especially high school's 4 stories, so is Niagara Street, I believe, right?
Yes.
4
Yeah.
stories, and, you know, it's not going to make it in Gaskill. You can't get close to Gaskill's windows to replace anything, because you got the sloping terrain and everything else. So 40 feet, I don't think it's going to cut it too good.
Okay.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah.
So Mark, on this, and Becky, I should say, the different colors, where it would come from, and none of these are in the budget now, is that correct?
That is
You're correct.
partially correct. If you look under facilities, the CEC roof, fire suppression,
Oh, yeah.
and boiler
Yeah,
plant
That's why
Oh,
we
yeah,
left.
that's a good
have
catch.
been moved up, and they're listed under proposed budgetary appropriation.
If we're going to keep those in, we should take them off of here. We can't have
They
them
should
both
come off
places.
that,
Yep.
yeah, they're already in.
It's a good catch.
Yes.
So how much are we talking to put it all in?
If you look at the top, it's 8 point, if you scroll down a little, up, I should say, there's a total considerations of 8.8 million, but that includes that 2 million that we did recommend adding to the budget.
So we're talking about $9 million, $7 million, round numbers.
7.
That's why I said 7.
Yeah, 7, yeah.
Right,
9
because
months.
those other
I
items.
see what you did, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, if we did everything.
If we did everything, I mean, obviously, I don't think we'll do
and again,
everything,
Right.
I mean, but,
And if you like, I can make that correction or change on there, and then I can add estimates for either a lift or a bucket truck, or both.
is are any of these items, especially those purchases, are they available, can they go into the American Rescue
The
funds?
items shaded in the gold tone are all eligible for American Rescue Plan funding, and they're perfect fits. These are the things that the federal government is encouraging us to do with those funds.
Well, I do caution staff.
Yeah.
I'm not saying no.
No, you're right. No, you're right. No, you're right.
That's a one-shot revenue to pay for a long-term
You're right.
item.
Right.
Question.
How much money do we have left in that?
We have 30 million total, and we have, so far this year, we expect to spend about 6.5 million.
About 24 million.
At those heat pumps at Kelfus, those are not the new ones, are they?
Yeah, they are.
Oh,
Yeah, they are.
We're replacing the new ones?
Yep. Yes, they are.
Tell me that story.
No, I don't even think they're that old.
Okay, so about 7 or 8 years ago, we did a complete retrofit of Calfus's HVAC system. We took it from a forced hot air system, furnace, believe it or not, no boiler, furnaces, and replaced it with a DOAS unit, direct outside air supply unit, 2 of them, and then what makes up the difference in the supply air, whether it's cooling or heating, are the heat pumps outside of the building with the split units for each space. They have been problematic for some time. We've been wrestling with whether it was an installation issue, whether it was an issue from the manufacturer. We continue to spend money on these year after year, good money, and still have problems keeping the building comfortable the way we want to. And this is an attempt to retrofit those heat pump units and solve this problem once and for all. Because it fits with the ARP funding. Yeah,
Okay, are those the ones that the architect put on the north side of the building that the snow fell into and everybody had to fit over, no one wanted to take responsibility when we built,
Yes.
Yep. Yes.
That's some of them. But,
Yes.
but those ones were replaced.
Remember that? Remember?
I remember
The
it well.
architect put it on this, and he didn't figure the snow load.
Put it on the floor.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm to tell you the truth, your recollection is exactly correct. Yeah, they were on the floor and the water got up through them.
Ice.
Ice got up through them. Remember that?
What is changing them going to do? Let me rephrase the question. Are the pumps defective? Where they are defective? Is it the wrong system to be in that building?
They're in,
Or all of the above?
I think I'm a fairly okay facilities manager. I'm not an engineer. I don't know that I love this system for that building, okay? But to completely replace the entire system with a more conventional system would be probably $8 to $10 million easy.
If I'm correct, we have a boiler that brings it up to a certain temperature.
In the heating mode, yes, sir.
And then the heat pumps brings it up to 60 degrees or whatever it is.
For the ventilation, yes.
And then the heat pumps come in and bring it up to my room, your room.
According to each space's thermostat, the heat pumps will then bring it up to satisfy that thermostat for the temperature it's set for each individual space.
What I would ask for, and I'm okay fixing that because it's 7 years old, it's older than I thought. Should have made 15 years.
It should have been way longer.
Way longer. But what my question is, I'd like somebody that knows, rephrase, an engineer or somebody in this business, I didn't mean that disrespectfully.
I didn't take
To
it that
tell
way
us-
in the slightest.
I don't want to be doing this in 7 years again.
It's fair.
You
It's
know,
fair.
Neither do I.
It was wrong from the beginning.
It was.
And everyone, no one stepped to the plate. I remember this because I wouldn't sign that change order. I told them all to pound salt because they were wrong.
Right.
So let's, if you would, for me, if we go that route, let me know, or let us know, I should say, what we should do.
Earl,
Thank
did you
you.
have a question? Earl Bass, did you have a question? Not on purpose. We would never do
It's
that.
got a
I
virus.
would.
Muted me.
It's got a virus.
My question was about Niagara Street. How old is that building? It's not, it's,
The date of substantial completion was August 17th, 2007.
all right, so are those boilers, is that the service life of them? Or is there an issue with those?
On the newer package boilers, I don't know how much more you get than about 15 to 20 years. Whether or not there may have been a steel issue, Earl, Mr. Bass, I don't know for sure. I really don't. I just had somebody from Buck Pit come in this week to start evaluating that one particular boiler to see what exactly went wrong. But I mean, both boilers received the same water treatment over the last 14 to 15 years. I don't know why one failed so much more dramatically than the other. I honestly don't.
Do you know what brand they are?
Which one's? The one at Niagara
Niagara
Street?
I'm sorry, I don't.
No, that's okay. That's okay. I have a picture. My apologies.
He's got pictures of boilers on his phone.
Oh, I have, I'm a work nerd.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Real quick, Mark, the courthouse downtown,
Yeah.
12 years old, right, 12 years old? Last summer, we had to replace the computer in that thing.
Yeah.
We couldn't get that thing to cool, we couldn't get that thing to heat up. It wouldn't turn on at all. It's only 12
Cleaver
years old.
Brooks.
You think you're gonna get a few years.
What was it called?
Cleaver Brooks.
The Cleaver's
They're
a
a good boiler.
Yeah.
They're not garbage by any
You know,
stretch
part
of
of
the
the problem is the
imagination.
steel's coming from overseas.
Huh? A couple things I think I'm hearing. Yeah, remember that?
We had problems with the structural steel in that building too.
Couldn't get it.
Yeah.
You remember we waited a year extra to build that building.
Couple of things, Becky, Julie. I think we need to remove, we need to remove that 2 million that's already accounted for.
Absolutely.
That was a great catch. Darn, he got me. He got me, Russ. He got me. And we need to really total this up by fund, so that we know what would go into the general fund, what would go into the ARP. So it's, because
Okay.
that remaining 7 million that you pretty accurately referenced doesn't all come out of the general fund. It will come out of various other pots of money. So I think the question is, we're trying to get to a number for the general fund, and what will we need, how much will we need to add to it or not add to it? Because much of this can come out of ARP, if you agree.
Mark, maybe you could clarify for me.
Yeah.
I'm just
Sorry.
picking one.
Sorry.
Music teacher.
Yep,
The music teacher can come out of American Rescue Funds,
it can.
Yes.
but next year it's general fund. Or maybe AR,
Yeah.
maybe
ARP
another year or two.
It can stay in the ARP for 2 years,
years.
and we do have a plan to bring positions that are in ARP back to the general fund without a big hit on the general fund. Because if you notice, there are strategically some one-shot expenditures in the general fund now, but the reason we want to leave them there is because they generate aid, state aid. So when the personnel, those positions come back to the general fund, we will be done with those other purchases. So
Clearing
as
room for the
those are
staff.
reductions in the future budget when the people come back as additions. I mean, obviously, it's not going to be a perfect one-for-one. It's hard to say, exactly what it'll be, but we do have a plan to make any addition sustainable.
Well, Mark, and I'll just ask, we put about 60 staff in last year?
68.
68, you got another 10 here.
Yep.
78. You got another million here plus another 8 million before.
Yep.
I'm waiting for my report, so I'll be looking for it.
Oh, you got the graduation report last week.
That's good news.
Yeah, that was good
But,
news.
but,
Yeah, I know.
but,
I know
What
how
do we take out of the graduation? What did the state take out of the
They
graduation?
took the Regents exams out.
And I'm not being critical.
I got you.
I'll
We're
give
on the
you
same page.
Results, you get whatever you want.
We're on the same page. I get it. It's fair. You said it from day one. We just want to be strategic with the money, and what we can't have happen, it's on TV, is in 2 years, we can't say, well, we got to cut all these people in programs. We can't do that. I can't do that. That would be the worst thing. And I know you know, I'm very cognizant of that. That's why we're trying to load the general fund, in my thinking, with as many one-shot things to make space for people in programs when ARP is gone.
Right, the one-shot items that aren't ARP eligible.
Right.
So
You want to get ARP eligible items, you want to spend that money to get those one-shot expenses out, get them done.
Correct.
Right, you don't want to
Yes.
put them in the general fund. It was
Yes.
just, I know what he was trying to say.
Yes.
Yeah,
and
I'm not that
I'm-
budgetary eloquent, but you get it. But we can't have that happen in 2 years. You know, we can't have it. And we'll save this tape for posterity. We can't have it. We just can't do that. That's not fair to the kids, because we do need boilers and things, but we need staff and programs. And we can't be short-sighted to do all this for 2 years and then 2024 say, well, I don't know where we're going to cut, where are we going to get this program from? That's why we're taking $4 million back of CRISA people, right? Look, the budget takes $4 million. That budget would not be 7.55% higher if we didn't take $4 million worth of CRISA people back. It would be about 5% higher, I think. I don't know. I'm just doing it. So we're taking $4 million back this year. We'll take $4 million back next year. We'll take $4 million back the following year. I mean, that's how it is in my head. Does that make sense?
Yes, and we'll evaluate each year, obviously, and the needs and everything else and see, but the superintendent is very adamant about making sure that we have a plan to keep everything sustainable.
Yeah. Adamant. The vocabulary is great, Beck. I just can't do it. I mean, the most important thing on here is the curriculum and instruction piece. It's the most important thing on here. I mean, we have to have a warm school and a cold school, but all that stuff, that's what we're here for. And you know, our kids need their resources in the people and programs we have. And you've always given it to us anytime we've asked, and security. But you've always given it to the district and to the kids. You always have. So I have to keep that going. Now, the other thing I will argue back a little bit, and I don't discount your words about results. You are right on, and it drives all conversations I have. But if we continue to see foundation aid funded at $8 million, we are not used to that level. That will offset it as well. 8 million plus this 1.2 billion, that will help. That will help. And don't forget, look at, can you find the reserve package, Ray? And
Yep, you scroll down to the bottom.
don't forget, they have specific purposes. And I want to keep this as where it is as best we can. But this isn't just to see how much money we can keep. When we need to, we've got to have conversations about dipping into this. You know, I mean, it's great, and I'm the first one to run around the city saying, we got an A++ bond rating, aren't I great? But I would subjugate that to not lose a program or a person, so we may have to touch one of these days. And I know you understand that. I just trying to think of all the backup plans. That's all. Nick?
Just about, we talked about the $8 million in the foundation aid being high. What about the city's small schools?
Yeah,
And that may have a bearing on.
It could too.
That's
It could
an
too.
unknown factor.
We don't know. I mean, it seems like it's getting closer, right?
They got to make a decision shortly, I would imagine, wouldn't they?
They're almost out of appeals, or they're doing this and that. Yeah, you know, it's got to be coming soon. That will help. We could be too. I mean, you think if we're sitting here in 2 years and we don't know what's going on with that, that's a problem. That's a problem. Yeah, they're not like our lawyers who get things done right away. They're dragging things out and, well, I mean, you know how it is. That case drags out it's been going on for 11 years. I mean, at least we get into some daylight now, some daylight. But it's a point that is also in the back of our minds. It would be great. It would be a windfall. Our lawyers get things done. Jiminy Cricket's fast. Jiminy Cricket's fast. They get things done over there. Man, I'm trying to be nice to you. You tried to buy me lunch yesterday. I'm trying to be nice to you. Anyways, members of the board, I think we're in good shape. It's all about strategy. It's all about thinking, you're right, 3, 4, 5 years from now. That's how you got this reserve fund, because you forced this conversation, and the district's better for it. So thank you. We'll keep refining it.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Nice job, crew. You guys are sharpening that pencil like a rascal.
Did the board get new computers now?
Nuke. Talk to Ray. They got viruses on them. Ray, they try phishing on these guys.
Yeah, fish.
Can we pull up the agenda, please? This is our last task for the evening. Thank you, Ray and Judy, for all your work in putting this together. Stop right there before you go any further. We have a graduate from Niagara Falls High School who finished in January, and I've invited her and her parents to come along with Miss Jones to give her diploma at the meeting at 7 o'clock that day. So that her name is Alicia Mitchell, and we're really glad that she stayed with it and got her diploma. So she wanted to come to the board meeting and get her diploma in front of all of you. So we're having her come. All right. Minutes, budget transfer, bid. We have a bid out there, Earl and Becky and Julie, for recycling, trash, and trash. I know it's going to be open today or tomorrow, or where are we with that bid? Anything we could say? It hasn't.
Open today at 2 o'clock, and we're still evaluating the outcome of it, but I think we have a successful vendor, but I don't want to really say until I look at the numbers again. But we'll know for certain probably Monday or Tuesday.
What I'll do, board, is once Earl and Becky and Julie have vetted that bid, I will send you the name of who the successful recycling and trash removal ahead of your vote, so you'll know who it is. How many people bid on it? How many companies?
We do a New York State OGS mini bid. There's only 2 large enough in our areas to bid, and that is Modern and Waste Management.
Okay. So it's fair to say it would be one of the 2.
I hope so.
All right.
Otherwise, we'll be taking a lot of garbage.
Putting in that Cadillac, you know.
Treasurer's report, budget status. Maria is going to distribute personnel reports in a bit. We have our committee reports. We have, actually, if you'd scroll up just a tad, Ray. We have 4 short-term contracts. 3 of them are listed. I indicated that we have one more. The first one is for Windsor Learning. It's for professional development. That's tomorrow, Rick. What is that? That's a $5,000 professional development. What is Windsor Learning, Rick?
It is a Tier 3 reading intervention program that we're adding to our district menu, and we're training all of our PEP interventionists on using that program tomorrow. So that also includes all the materials,
Right.
the amount that you see there.
The Head Start grant is paying for diversity training for our Head Start teachers. That's tomorrow. Our Security and Safety Director has planned obviously tomorrow's a staff development day. All of our safety officers and some deans are meeting with Chief Del Porto, and they're going to work on de-escalation. So we're paying this gentleman that Chief Del Porto recommended to us. It'll be in the field house tomorrow. It's a pretty reasonable rate. He'll spend the day training our safety officers and some deans. There is one additional short-term contract that just came in that we need to add for the 24th. Rick and Maria, Rick, is it yours?
It is. It's eDoctrina is the name of the assessment software that we use to create and administer some of our assessments to students online with their laptop computers. So we have several new teachers who do not know how to use it yet. So this training is going to be for some of them and also for our newer coaches so that they can turn around and train more teachers in how to use it.
The cost?
It's $400. It's a virtual training.
400, we will add that to the next, it's a $400 training. Obviously, we're trying to get that as much done tomorrow as possible. That isn't tomorrow, though, is it?
No, that's next week.
That's the following week. Head Start reports are part of our new process that enrollment's up to 91, which is good. They keep moving forward. 91's a good number. Then we have new business. We have an acceptance of funds. We received, the company estimated at about $75,000 worth of equipment from a business that's closing, and happened to know the manager of this business. And just on a whim, she said, would you like some office furniture and paper products? And I said, well, Earl, would you mind taking a ride and going over there and looking at it? And he called me from a tree stand and said, oh my God, you are not going to believe what they want to give us. They gave us some of the nicest furniture, conference chairs, paper products, and what happened to this company is they had 300 cubicles, and no one's working anymore. They're all working from home. So they're disbanding all the cubicles. And I know this young lady who's the manager there, and she said, would you want them? I said, I don't want to. So I said, Earl went over there, and again, he kind of passed out because of that. If you go to Maria's office, she has all new chairs. The conference room has all new chairs. It is just beautiful, beautiful furniture, and it was all given to us. They did not recommend, well, we can do that. Earl, can you get Mr. Bass a new chair, please? Oh. And Ms. Dunn. And Ms. Dunn. And can you get a new chair? And maybe Mr. Capizzi, maybe. Anyways, they didn't want to be recognized. I said, we have to. So I guess the point of the story was 250 people are not working in a business anymore. They're working from their houses. 250 people. The place is by the Hills Plaza. Yeah.
I know 4 people that work.
It's a problem with the economy because those people don't go to Mike, they don't go to me.
That's right.
They don't buy tires, they don't buy gas,
Furniture.
they don't buy furniture. It's a ripple effect.
Oh, but they buy a lot of food.
So for a home, you mean?
Yeah, you're really. It's a, well, I just want to thank the company for thinking of us. Any way we want, and we can use it. It's all over the district now. We have our Smart Scholars Early College Grant that we just got extended actually for another year. This allows us to pay for courses at Niagara University for kids. This is not the P-TECH. This is for Niagara University courses. And Richard, Earl's boss, Richard, put together the Head Start budget. It's another $2.1 million plus. It went up 1.6% to fund our Head Start program. We are getting $15,000 from the city for the OSC funds. We are going to upgrade our TV studio and upgrade some of the equipment that they use to film the meetings at City Hall. That's an annual item. We need a special meeting on April 7th for you to vote on it'll be one item. What's the bottom line budget number? Right. We're still, it's going to come right down to the wire here on that ladies and gentlemen. We're still, that is a Thursday, Mr. Petrosi, yes, sir. You're welcome. Judith, 606, 607, 608, 609.
Yes, those are all related to the upcoming election. The first one is very basic stuff, authorizing me to publish polling sites, the date of the election, very standard stuff. The second one is, of course, appointing the election inspectors. The third is appointing inspectors who I can call in if the first batch, for some reason, cannot make it, if someone's sick or cannot fulfill their duties. I have a list of people that can substitute. The last one for me are the machine custodians. These are the people that service the actual voting machine, which of course we rent from the county. So we don't touch those. Our inspectors don't touch those. If there's an issue or a problem, we employ these machine custodians because they know how to use and fix those machines, and they're county workers.
Judy, everything going all right with the election preparation?
Everything is going smoothly and efficiently and beautifully. No worries.
And we're all set. Remember, we had NTS here for the demonstration. You're comfortable and confident?
Ray and I are going to meet with representatives from NTS. We're going to actually do a dry run through at each of the polling sites prior to the vote so that we are confident that the Wi-Fi is going to work, is going to be secure, that the e-sign will work. I have a high level of confidence because I know that Ray is just the very best and will make sure that it's right, and because the county, of course, uses e-sign at these very same sites. So I have a high level of confidence that it'll all be fine.
Okay. Same 23 election locations, I think it was, or?
That's correct.
Everything else is the same. The sign-in is the only difference in this election.
That's correct.
Your BOCES candidate, I know Mr. Consemi has served as your representative. That is a 2-year term, and I think it's up. So we will need a name from the board for Judith to fill in on that resolution.
Mr. Consemi, do you wish to stay at BOCES? Anybody else? Are we good with Mr. Consemi's name? I think we're good with Mr. Consemi's name. Put Mr. Consemi's name in, please. Judy?
611 is what Ray presented. Ray presented this to you this evening. He'll formulate that in a resolution. 612 is, this is to pay for VIA to evaluate our P-TECH. Is it P-TECH? It is. Is this P? No. This is the, Rick was able to secure a $112,000 learning technology grant that he's working on right now with teachers to create what, Rick? Talk about the grant.
Online credit recovery courses.
Thank you.
For students who are projecting not graduating.
So we have to have an evaluation. VIA's doing that for $4,900. That's what that's just to pay the company to evaluate Rick and team's work.
Yeah, that's mandated by the
But Rick's fast at work he worked all Saturday on this project last week. And that's for credit recovery. Thank you. I had forgotten that. The next one, this is an interesting one. I think Mr. Ruffalo had a hand in this one. We have a farm to school grant. And did you correct me, please, if I'm wrong. Did you ever see outside of the school, we have all those gardens growing? Gaskill has a beautiful one, the boxes. Part of the grant will pay for a master gardener, a master horticulturist, to work with students to keep those gardens up during the summer so the boxes don't look empty and dumpy. So, we've got to keep those things going and keep the fruits and vegetables growing. So that's coming out of a farm to school grant. We're paying Ferguson Electric. Now, on this one here, you put the freezer in Abbott is now complete for Kevin, except for the shelves, right? But Ferguson installed it. They're getting paid $14,100. We're satisfied with Ferguson's work. 615 is to pay, this is their retention as well for that same freezer. Now that's being paid, just for anyone, that's being paid out of the cafeteria budget. We bought that freezer out of the cafeteria budget. So that's $1,000 we held in retention, but they're done and it works. Danforth is being paid for their work on that freezer, paid by the cafeteria budget, $8,872. Ferguson has been working with Ray on the installation of cameras. This is coming out of the Smart Schools budget, $7,862. And then Ray has also asked to pay for UNS securities for the security cameras that we're adding throughout the district, mainly at the high school. That's $162,656. That's all out of the Smart Schools budget. I always laugh when I think of this, Earl Bass. I think of you and your comment that every year you get elected, it gets approved. That's the budget it comes from. Remember that comment? I'll never forget that. Those are the resolutions, members of the board, that we're going to ask you to support next week, in 2 weeks. There are no policies. I'll do the advanced planning here, and then I'll let Maria come up. The 7th, we've got I put summer programs on there, but we might have to take that off because we have to keep the 7th for full budget conversations. But I also want Rick and team to talk about summer programs and summer school in more depth. The 26th, ladies and gentlemen, is a Tuesday. Remember, we have to meet before the BOCES budget, and we invited BOCES board members to come here and have dinner with us and stay and hopefully enjoy our meeting and enjoy our camaraderie and fun, and really show them how to run a great board meeting. And those are but that's a Tuesday. And that's it. Miss Maria Massaro has some personnel. She's been a little bit busy. She's gearing up for her busy season.
Mark, if I could ask a question on Smart Schools, these different programs. We're putting cameras in, so next year, why don't we just apply for new cameras by the time it gets through in 3 or 4 years to be ready to replace? You follow my question?
I do.
Thank you. Or computers, you put a computer in, you put them into service, just apply for new ones, because by the time they come down, they get it approved, they'll be done.
I do. It's a really good question. Ray, you want to answer it?
Yeah, and actually, we kind of have our Phase 3 of Smart Schools Bond Act in place conceptually, and includes that thought, as long as some other things. It really, the security access points that's in the box you just saw.
Yeah.
It really is about when do we want to do this, because right now we're putting in all this great video surveillance that could marry really nicely into access controls, but we don't have to wait 2 or 3 years to get it. So that it's really just the waiting game with the Smart Schools Bond Act.
Right, but I think what I was getting at, that's a little different, because
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, we would probably want that all together.
Yeah.
What I mean is, we put 100 computers in, we should just apply for another 100 computers. Would it take 3 years to get through?
Well, in the context of computers, we're probably in a pretty good spot because they're already approved for computers.
Okay. But I was just using it, for instance.
For cameras.
Cameras in 5 years, you know what we. Pardon me? In here, you mean? Audio. Oh, audio and cameras.
Yeah, and kind of the problem with technology is that it changes so fast that if we were to apply for an application that has to be somewhat detailed, if we're kind of forecasting it out for 2 years, we almost have to rescope it by the time, just because technology changes so quickly. I'm not sure if I'm answering your question correctly.
Well, Jim, Mr. Consemi asked, how about audio and cameras? Sound?
Yep.
We do? We don't?
No, we don't have audio. It's all video with cameras.
From the Smart Schools.
From Smart Schools.
From Smart
Is
Schools.
audio available on security cameras? I know
It's
somewhat.
a really good question. I'll have to follow up on it because it's definitely another valuable component that would be, that would be a part of it. I don't know, but
Well, we know a few that it could have.
yeah.
Sure would have helped.
It would have helped. It's a good question.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ray, will you follow up?
I
on
will,
it?
yep.
Yeah, because we don't have it right now.
No, we could have used it a couple times, I think.
We could have used it.
Thank you.
Yep.
Here
You're
she
up.
is.
You're up, Ms.
Here she is, live and in person from the Human Resources Office on the first floor of the 66th Street building. Maria Massaro with the personnel report.
Woman who needs no introduction.
Thank you.
No, she doesn't. Thank you, Tony.
Mr.
Take it
Wright?
away, MM.
Thank you, sir. So we'll begin tonight with the classified report. I will warn you at the outset that there will be many asterisked items at your next meeting. Because we continue to move staff and juggle some staff as people come and go from the district at this time. So we have 2 resignations listed there. We have provisional appointments of a school office support clerk, which has ended actually even right before it began, because we have now moved that person, as you see below, into a temporary Secretary 1 position. So that's what I mean by there's a lot of movement. Appointment of a revised appointment for a school office support clerk at Niagara Falls High School and a Secretary 2 in the assessment office at Central Office. See additional temporary appointments there. That's to backfill the other appointments that you've seen. Some voluntary transfers. There will be an involuntary transfer as well in the next time. And then also we have leaves of absence listed there. And then change of status from probationary to permanent. Some additional hours for the seal of biliteracy. Any questions so far about your draft copy of the classified report? Okay, moving on to the certificated report. We are revising the appointment of a regular substitute special education teacher, and then you will see below that we've done an involuntary transfer. Those 2 folks, we moved, one went from Gaskill to LaSalle, the other went from LaSalle to Gaskill. Leave of absence, and then, and this is again going to be another huge addition in our next meeting, Mr. Corella is keeping the Human Resources Office quite busy because Mr. Corella over the summer and in the near future is going to be very, very busy as well. So you're going to be seeing some more per diem and some more Schedule B, but right there you could see all of the beginnings of all the work that we're going to start to do, especially with some renewals in the ELA and the social studies, and where else am I missing? What other renewal? Pre-K? ELA and social studies. Those are the big ones, right?
There's a lot of good things that are that we've been spending ARP money on, because they're technically one-shot training and stipends for teachers. So.
See that? Rick even learned 1-shots, Russ.
There you go.
Way to go, Rick. Yeah. Curriculum and 1-shots. As he sarcastically retorts. Even Angelo liked that, Rick. This is how Rick is all day long with me. They think this is what he gives me all day long.
Thank you.
That's pretty good. That's huge. That is. Tells you that when you're engaged in sports, yeah. Oh, and the girls. I'm sorry, girls. The girls, 2 of the girls participated in 2 sports at the same time. I mean, those are the good kids that we have. I wanted to tell you that our partners, Niagara County Community College, are honoring Blaniva Bond on March 29th with a big ceremony at the school, 4 o'clock. They're unveiling their own mosaic of Blaniva Bond at the school, not only to honor you and to honor her in the community, but to celebrate Women's History Month. And they chose Blaniva Bond as their Women's History person, and I think that's a real nice statement from the college. I'll remind everybody it's the 29th, and they're having a little ribbon cutting and doing the mosaic at the college. I'm going to go, it's 4 o'clock. I'll make sure everybody knows. But it's really nice that the college is partnering with us. And then when we have the big celebration in August, college kids are going to help our kids make mosaics of Blaniva Bond. So it's a nice partnership, again, growing with community college, along with Niagara, but communities become a real extension of our 12th grade and beyond. So it's awesome to see. Tomorrow is a big staff development day that Rick, principals, Maria have been hugely instrumental in planning. We've had a good week. Things have gone well, and we're in a good spot because of you, board members, and your service and commitment, and because of our staff. So, I just want to thank you for your continued support. Really, really appreciate it. You make it easy, and I thank you very much. So, that's all I have, members of the board and audience, studio audience. There's no need for an executive session, and I wish everybody the best, so thank you very much.
Any questions, anybody? Motion for adjournment?
Have a great evening. Earl, did you get a